So this will be part 10 of our complete application using Angular front end, Node back end, and PostgreSQL database, as well as MongoDB. In the previous tutorial, which is part 9, we set up the TypeScript application in the Node application with TypeScript. We also set up NodeMon for monitoring changes and automatic restart of the server. But we don't have the server script right now. So now you can see right here in the console, it says waiting for changes before starting. So at least so far, our setup is working. So Control C to stop this for now. And let's now create a server that actually spins up a web server and be able to serve files. If you are joining me for the first time, as I used to say, please subscribe to my channel. When you subscribe, you kind of motivate me to make this lesson. So simply click on the red subscribe button below to subscribe. And also, if you have comments, let me know how you benefited from my lessons. And if you have challenges and you need my support, please leave me a comment as well. And if you want, connect with me on my social network profile, be it LinkedIn or Instagram, follow me on Jade. And that way I will be able to see whatever support or assistance you might need and actually help you fix it. All right, so we are moving to the fourth part, and this time we want to set up the application structure. Now, the first thing we want to do, normally the first thing we want to do now is to create the src directory. So I'm going to say new directory. It's going to be src directory. And inside this directory, we are going to create 3 different subfolders, and it's going to be routes, controller, and service. So I'm going to create the first one. It's going to be routes. Later, I'm going to be telling you what this is all about. If you follow FleetMS version 1 and FleetMS version 2, the controllers should be familiar with you, and also you should understand the concept of services as well. So let me rename this to actually controllers. And the next folder I'm going to be creating here is going to be services. Services, okay. You have routes, controller, and services. So somehow in version 2, when we use Spring Boot, we actually have three folders: models, controllers, services, and repositories. Now in Node.js, we don't need repositories, and later on we are going to see that we don't need these routes as well. And in case of models, we will actually not need it. We might actually need some interface, but we are going to be talking about that a little later. For now, create these 3 subdirectories inside the src directory. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so let's see. We have this. Okay, so we are going to go to the inside the controller. We need to create one file called home controller to actually serve up the home page. So I'm going to call it home controller.ts. So this file home controller.ts is going to serve the home page, and in the service, it's going to contain routes that's going to be responsible for the home page. Home service.ts. And in the routes, I'm going to create one file. I'm going to call it app routes.ts. Okay. So the first one, which is in case of the service, let's see. So the service, inside the service, we need only one file to actually just display a message. I'm going to say export function go home. Okay, so this function is simply going to return a string, return welcome to FleetMS version 3. Okay, so there is just a message we want to be displayed, we want to send back as a response. So in the controller now, we are going to use call this function to actually return this message, because we actually need to always fetch data coming from get the interface or fetch data from the service. We don't want to write our logic most times inside the controller. All right, so I'm going to say import. Actually, I'm going to copy this and then I'm going to explain it to you. So this is the content of our controller file. So what's happened here is that we import the function from the services file, and we also create a function here. This go home is going to have request response, and it's actually going to serve the URL request coming. This function is going to execute. More or less, you have the normal controller you know from version 1. This is exactly the same thing as from in case of Node.js. So getHome is going to execute, is an async function. It's going to get a request coming and send a response back. And the response is going to be sending is this response gotten from the service. Now the question now is, how do we route it? How do we know the URL route that we actually need to send it to? So in that case, we need to create the, we have to specify the route here. And that is what I have here. So I'm going to simply copy this and paste here. So what happens here is we create a router and specify that when this when someone goes to /home, it's going to call this controller function. Okay. So so what happens here now is that we actually have not created the server. All right. So we need to create a file called. This time, this server has to be outside the SRC. So I'm going to create a file called server.ts. So what's going to be the content of this server? Let me see. So I've created a file called server.ts, and I'll simply like to paste the content of the server.ts file and explain it to you. The content, somehow I missed placing it in the website, but I think I will do that immediately after now. So what's happening here is we need to import the HTTP module. We also import Express from Express, and we need to import routes. Route is where the URL paths are defined, which is app route. That is in this file here. So I define one route here. And I'm also going to create a router and then tell router to use the routes defined in the routes which I imported here. And I'm going to create a server object using HTTP create server, which is this command here. And then the next thing I'm going to tell the server to listen for requests coming on port 6600. So this port is optional. I mean, not optional. The port name, the port number, you can actually choose it yourself. Any free port is okay. For instance, I can just change it to 6000, and that is still fine. And yeah, so there is the content of this server.ts file. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to save everything, and I'm going to do npm run dev, and it says application is running at port 6000. So if I go to check port 6600 HTTP localhost at port 6600 6000 slash, and nothing happens. But so let me try another port. Let me try port 8880 for instance. And I'm going to save file, save everything, and I'm going to run. Okay, port 8800, let's go try it. So 8800, 8880, I think I missed it out. I missed this, so it's going to be 8880. Okay, so everything works perfectly well. So you can see that it displays a welcome message. Where is this message coming from? It's coming from the home service right here. Okay, So Flick MS version 3 by Kyneton. If I save everything, let's see that these changes will reflect even without restarting the server. So you can see it's also reflected. So I like to stop here. I think this should be part 10. In part 11, because what we've done now is to create an API. So our API is working. And in part 11, I think we now move to create a Node API with TypeScript using PostgreSQL. And this time, we are now going to actually fetch data from PostgreSQL, because right now we are just sending a static string to as a response, but we actually want to fetch some real data from the database and send as a response. So I'd like to stop here. Please remember to subscribe to my channel if you've not subscribed, and also leave me a comment if this has been informative for you. Also, let me know if you have challenges. So, follow me on my social network profile, connect with me on Instagram, follow me on GitHub, LinkedIn, Twitter. And that way we can actually connect and I can help you solve whatever challenge you may be having. I remain Kyneton the Tech Pro, and see you in the next part.